Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Kish? And Urick is absent.
Yeah, and Chris, David just said something urgent came up and he would not be able to make it to the meeting at all this evening.
I have somewhere the Amherst Township meeting minutes from March 23rd, 2021. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Chairman Lynch with pledge to the flag. Roll call: Abraham, Lynch, Urick, and Kish all present. Others in attendance: L. Ashley, K. Smarsh, R. Cerrone, G. Lynch, C. Neihart, L. Ganapsik, and R. Bechter. 3/9/21, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham, to approve the minutes of the March 9th, 2021 regular meeting as corrected. All ayes. 3/10/21, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick. Move to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. All ayes. 3/11/21, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve that the February 2021 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. 3/12/21, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, to approve the permanent annual appropriation measure for 2021 per Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.38. All ayes. Audience concerns: L. Ganapsik, resident of Rustic Hills, brought forth a copy of a class action document she had received with her water bill and was asking for some clarification. Under correspondence, Fiscal Officer Kish noted we received the final verbiage from the Board of Elections for the road levy on the upcoming ballot. Also, we received a certified letter from First Energy regarding application to the Ohio Power Sitting Board for a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need for the Beaver Wellington 138 kV transmission line project. Trustee Lynch noted we had received the millage certification for the roads from the Lorain County engineer for signatures. Lastly, Bob Klaber sent a letter to townships from the Lorain County engineer's office regarding pavement specifications and the possibility of changing from 12 inches, right, of ODOT item 206 cement stabilization subgrade. He noted if the township was interested in considering, he would be available to discuss further. Under reports, fire prevention officer, one new business looking to expand into the township, is working with rural water to help get water out to the businesses. Been doing inspections and having businesses contact the building inspector and/or zoning inspector for their certificate of occupancy. Under ambulance, holding their meeting in June or July. Under zoning, 9 new permits, 1 new home year to date. The BZA hearing on March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. on a variance. Under road, parks, and cemetery, potholes, topsoiling, grass seeding, ditch cleaning, dumpster days all set. Maintenance is all complete. A canopy on the salt shed blew out and we'll be getting prices on repairing or replacing the canopy. 3/13/21, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, authorizing participation in the ODOT winter salt contract 018-22 as authorized by Ohio Revised Code, Section 5513.01B, as prepared. All ayes. 3/14/21, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick, authorization to bid South Dewey Road TR-105 resurfacing project from Middle Ridge Road to Ackerman Road, Amherst South Corp line. Resurface length equals 338 feet, area equals 7,647 square yards. All ayes. Under old business, Linda is still working on the NOPEC community grant. Stormwater grant for phase 4 for the Angle Ditch was submitted on March 9th, but no word has been received. Mini grants from the Stormwater District will be increased to $25,000 from $10,000. Prior complaint that the solid waste grants process needs to be streamlined is being looked into by the new director, David Blevins. Under complaints, they're being handled by the designated individual. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, April 13th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 3/15/21, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham, to adjourn at 8:17 p.m. Roll call, all ayes.
Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the March 23rd meeting minutes?
I have none.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second it.
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
All right, on to financials. You have the payment listing in front of you for the month so far. There's nothing out of the ordinary. Turn it over once again real quick. Nothing out of the ordinary. Our year-to-date revenue is $658,523.19. And our year-to-date expenditures is $257,999.46. So that sounds a little bit better than it has for the past couple of months.
Yeah, it'll be even better when the second half comes in, right? Okay, are there any questions on the bills or the financial reports?
I have none.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservation.
I second them.
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Anything else there, Chris?
No.
Okay, I would welcome everyone in attendance, but we don't have anyone in the audience tonight. So I was expecting Matt Lawson to be back from the sheriff's office. Surprised he'd indicated in an email that they'd start attending the meetings again. But we'll see. We haven't received the latest report either for the monthly sheriff's report. But okay, then I'll move on to correspondence. Chris?
I did have something that I'd shared. I was just telling Linda and Kevin, I sent them both an email that OPWC is moving to a Salesforce platform. They're hoping that it's going to make things streamlined. The applications are going to be online for their funding programs that you can save and submit when you are ready, and your information can be adapted for future applications. So it'll help fill it in. Electronic disbursement requests, which helps prevent errors. Belinda said they're already doing that. Retrieval of historical storage of application and project documentation, ability to download project reports and secure online loan repayment options. It was launched in 2020, and they are just tweaking it up a bit to better service everybody.
Okay. And did they send that by email or was it by postal service?
It was by email. It was a constant contact. You want me to forward it to you?
Yeah, but, and especially to Linda and Kevin,
I
too.
did.
Okay, you already did?
Yep.
Yeah, let me take a look at it,
Okay.
Chris. But, you know, these guys are now, they've done the last ones and the yeoman's work, which makes it nicer. I'd like to stay out of doing them, just knowing what the details are, though. Is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Denny?
No, I don't have anything under ambulance.
Well, just announcements and correspondence.
Oh, no.
Okay, well then I just have a couple of items here I want to address. One is the reminder, the May 25th will be the bid opening for South Dewey Road, and Linda did verify that everything was in the legal section of the Chronicle, announcing that, making the information available for the bid packages at the county engineer's office. And Shonda Fala had all that information together, so we're all set there. So we'll just keep this on the radar that May 25th will be the bid opening. I've also, just a few items here with the OTA. There's been no additional information in regards to the Federal American Rescue Act, if townships in Ohio are being funded or not. So our full Ohio delegation, both the GOP and the Democratic representatives, and we're fortunate to have both, groups have written letters of support to Treasury Secretary Yellen, but we haven't, still no response, so we're kind of sitting in limbo. I don't know if the other communities have actually received their funds yet. I know for the county and the city of Lorraine, our federal reps have made announcements that the money's coming. Matter of fact, if you saw the communication today, the county's even getting an additional $1.7 million that Congresswoman Capter and Senator Brown have mentioned from HUD to help with housing and rental costs. And Linda, I know you get those calls that didn't give any detail as to how people gain access, but that would be the county. I assume it's going to be through Lorraine County Jobs and Family Services, but you'd have to check with the county to see what the people need to do to gain access to that. I know in the past, they had given some detailed information on previous programs that came through the CARES Act, and I know that was through Lorraine County Jobs and Family Services. So I'm assuming this will probably be the same. Also at the state level, we're still waiting on our state representatives to approve the biennial budget, but as of coming out of the House committee right now, it appears that they won't be touching the local government fund, at least at this point. They're still saying they'll maintain it at 1.66% of the state's general revenue funds. Realize that is, from years past, obviously significantly less, but at least there's no discussion about cutting things back anymore. As everybody here knows, we received less than half of what we received in years past, and I don't know if that'll ever come back. They also, and this was one that they had added in the previous budget, and I think we've discussed it here. I know it was discussed at the OTA educational sessions that they typically have at the beginning of the year in Columbus, is they still expect to have the $1 million per year, so this in the 2-year biennial budget, set aside for indigent burial. So we just have to keep that in mind if that comes up. We do have an application we have to go through on that, but that way it'll cover our costs, Kevin, if that comes about, since we are required to provide those burials. And probably the only other, and there's multiple items in there that affect townships, but they're not really too applicable for us where we're at here. One may be, if this ever comes about, because we did have discussions at one time here with the townships having joint police districts and fire districts, is that they are looking at allowing to continue where those districts can have their own continuous levy versus levy that's only for a certain number of years. So it looks like that may be continued also. Another item that may affect some counties where people may get upset, it won't affect Lorraine County. As we all know now, all the municipalities and townships are under one Lorraine County Public Health, which actually, with what we've just been through with the coronavirus pandemic, was probably the good thing. In the past, Elyria had their own health department, Lorraine had their own health department, and Avon Lake partnered with Lorraine for their health department, and the rest of us were all joined together with the health department. And there was always discussion in the past about bringing that under one umbrella, but the difficulty is many things in public life came down to dollars and who had control of the dollars and who was contributing what. And the townships were always concerned, the smaller municipalities, that, hey, wait a minute, they're going to suck all the money away, and our property owners have been paying into this forever. But that did get worked out, and we were probably very fortunate it happened, because it gave one source of information, and who could have predicted we were going to have this pandemic happen? So it's at least made a unified voice in getting things together versus having 3 different health departments. But what the state's looking at, and this isn't final yet, is requiring that any city health district with a population less than 50,000 residents is abolished, and those duties transferred to a general health district. Now you realize in some counties they're going to run in the same thing. They may not want that because it may be bringing an added, large added expense and no revenue. And if the state's mandating that and doesn't say, well, wait a minute, how do you do this? Because these other communities have already, they've got their carryover, they've been managing their budget, and all of a sudden you drop some additional municipalities in there, that's going to make it difficult. So I don't know where that's going to go, but I know for townships and some of the less populated counties aren't real excited about that happening yet. They prefer that the locals have control and decide, just as Lorraine County did, do you want to have a unified district or don't you, and make it voluntary in terms of that participation. So that's it as far as those announcements. I do have some other items that we'll cover that we discussed at other meetings, but we'll cover those, even though one deals with JEDs and sewers, we'll cover all of that when we come to the road department report. So moving on, ambulance. Denny, I think you already said nothing?
Nothing under ambulance.
Okay.
I don't have, once I get my secretary back, I'll be able to set a meeting, and it's going to be in, I think I said June or July.
Right.
And once I get her back, I'll set that meeting. We changed our rules where we're meeting once a year rather than 4 times a year. I think I shared that with all of you. But as soon as I talk with the gal when she gets back, then we'll set the meeting,
Okay, thanks, Denny.
June or July.
Okay. And then I already mentioned Matt Lawson, our community policing officer. I was expecting to see him, but he's not here, and we haven't received the current sheriff's report. All right, zoning, Remy?
It, 6 permits for the month, 3 accessory buildings, 1 pool, 2 pools and 1 fence.
One what? One what?
1 fence.
Okay,
Fence.
And Remy, I know you weren't able to make the last zoning commission meeting because you got hung up at a job, but I wanted you to be aware there were 3 individuals that came in individually, which I assume you were aware of, for things. And probably when you get those, if you send something out to all the elected officials so they're aware of it too.
I
And
will.
definitely the chairperson, Lonnie Dillon, because I know you had informed us there might be someone interested in procuring a large property here and possibly a residential development to be there informally. And I know Lonnie was prepared for that, and that's what I thought we'd have. Well, that individual never showed up, but I think he was shocked. He didn't expect there were 3 others there. They were all businesses in the commercial area, all looking to expand. So it was just informal presentations that were good, but just if you can let everybody know ahead of time so they're not shocked on that. I
Sure
think there
will.
was, some of the people there were surprised when it came up, and they weren't aware of it, and then they were also surprised what they were expecting didn't happen. That's nothing you can do about that when someone says they're going to be there and then they don't show up.
Yeah.
But it was good they prepared for it anyway.
Under the zoning commission, you need to change Tommy's name to
Oh, you're right. I think Georgianne's mentioned that to me before.
Lonnie.
Yep.
Needs to be put in.
I've got a Post-it note that she stuck on my monitor that I said, I got to remember that, and it's still sticking there. Thanks, Denny. Okay, in fire prevention, I just want to mention something, and I may actually talk directly with Chief Wilhelm. We've now got a couple of years under our belt with the change in the fire where everything's provided under contract with one community. I know I've talked with Chief Wilhelm before. I think it helps if we start, showing the data, what's happening, how things are changing. So I will talk with him. When I last talked with him, he wanted to hold up because they were just implementing some new software.
Right.
But he was pretty excited about what this software could present. But as far as how the data is presented is what's going to be the question, because it's going to be different from what we were used to seeing. But I'd like to see if Chief Wilhelm could come in and explain the way things are and what trends we might be seeing here, if any. And this will be a good gauge also as we're aware with the economy having not regressed as some people thought it would, is what impact that might have on the number of calls and that we have going on here and where those high incidences might be. And if there's anything that can be done to reduce those, then obviously the financials are always a big issue here. So I will talk with Chief Wilhelm. We'll move on to roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh.
Well, we are rounding the corner to finishing up the potholes. We are on, hopefully tomorrow, finishing up the topsoil and grass seeding. The dumpsters were delivered. We're ready for dumpster days, which will start on Thursday, go through Saturday. We had a funeral that was set for Monday morning. We found out about it Friday afternoon. Got it all worked out with 2 new plots and an open and close. That went real well. That's good to go. We're full steam ahead with cutting grass and weeding. And we had a storm sewer washout, if I may say, on Stang Road in between a head wall and the first joint of the culvert that goes underneath the road. That would be the small ditch west of the Batten House ditch there in front of Ron Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the culvert on the north side that ended up blowing out, and I've been past there many a times. I even looked into that ditch, and I did not notice the hole that had washed out there, but the resident that called it said that it was probably there a good 3 weeks, and it was a pretty good sized hole. It took a handful. We rebuilt it up, bricked it all in, mortared it, and then I probably had a half backhoe bucket of 304 that I compacted back into it. So it was a pretty good sized hole, nice washout. I mean, it was all washed away that was there, but it appeared that they, when it was installed, they used hard heads and probably maybe some type of a mortar joint to try and, block it in. It lasted for so long, and then it got gone. So Daryl's back. I said he's in full force of mowing and trimming, and I got the word in May they will be in to do the crack sealing for Kay and Linda. Said about the middle of May. That's GT contract. GT. Oh, Kay and Linda. Drive.
Kevin,
Yeah.
did you contact that lady down on Foxtel?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
And we will be there tomorrow.
okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and the ditch where you had the washout, you said, and that's the one that's west of the Batten House. So it's the one right near Ron Friend's home, where he's always saying, hey, we never talk about that ditch that he thinks needs maintenance also. Because I'd explained to him that what we've been working on is the Batten House and Engel, and after we're finished here with the far eastern portion, the Engel, we intend on going to the Batten House. I explained to him that the impact's more people, more farmland, but I'm not familiar with I know the ditch he's talking about, but obviously I'm not there to see the problem, and though we haven't had the flooding over the road, fortunately, in the past year, and it might be 2 years, usually when it is, you gotta come in one side and see it, and then you gotta drive around the other side, because you don't wanna be driving through that. I certainly wouldn't drive through with the vehicles I have. I don't want to be floating into the ditch. But he said the other one gets pretty bad on rain events. I don't know if you noticed that or...
Well, is he talking about the one that's in front of his house on the north side?
He says it's running from the south to the north and to the west of him. He just says it's a smaller one that he says is probably a drainage issue. and it doesn't have any name for it. So
Yeah.
that's the difficulty of identifying it. We can't all speak which one we're talking about here.
Yeah. If I'm thinking, the one that he is talking about, it is where this washout is, and that's kind of the overflow of when the Batten House would come up so high and then go in front of Phil's house and then in front of his house and then get going to the
Yeah.
to the north. It kind of follows that path by that maybe 4 or 5 year old home that was put in. It's right next to that
Okay.
home there. It's a smaller ditch. It's almost as if it was a roadside ditch, but running.
Yeah, it's smaller. That's, we're probably talking the same one. We'll have to look at it. I just explained to him we want to get the major ones, because there's been no maintenance on these things for 40 years.
Sure.
But we can only do a little bit at a time, but I assured him we won't forget, and I said, Ron, you're in the best position to remind us if the things don't improve. But if that's really an overflow, taking care of the rest may minimize the amount of times that's even necessary.
Yeah, and the culvert underneath the road, it's spit shining. It's clean. There's nothing in it.
Okay.
So there's no blackness there. And then from the north side of the road, that ditch runs north, and then it flows into the Batten House ditch. It's not very far.
Okay. And the only other thing I'll mention, Kevin, I know you got to take care of those things when they're quick, but you might consider contacting Don Romankak is now focused on stormwater. And that issue, not that they could have, but they might have been able to come out and take care of, or at least work out the financials to do that. They may have said, well, you go ahead and do it, or we might have had to get a contractor to do it if that's the direction they wanted to use. But I just want you to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you're in the best position to say, hey, this is an emergency, I've got to do it, I don't have time to, be waiting on people, especially with the wet weather that you could see on a time horizon.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. It was right on the edge of the road. Luckily, nobody would have just gone off that little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely talk with Don.
okay. All right, well then, Georgianne, can you bring up the map then for the Carvana sanitary sewer in Amherst Township? Yeah, you're gonna have to make it bigger. Okay, we had some discussion here where I'm going to be meeting with Mayor Bradley, which I haven't contacted Mayor Bradley at all, and I don't really know him, and it'd be important to get to know him, but the discussion was going to be about the jet area that the township has in partnership with the city of Lorraine. And you can see it highlighted in the blue here. And what's happening, the Carvana installation is to the north there. If you can see where Middle Ridge Road is running from the southwest up to the northeast and then turning north. And Georgianne, can you make that a little larger? And okay, if you see the yellow portion up there, that yellow is a sanitary force main. And then what's in the red with the manholes, that's the existing sewer, and that's the area which is actually in, as you go further to the north, will be in Elyria Township. In Elyria Township, Lorraine and the city of Elyria are in a joint arrangement in terms of their JED just to make Carvana happen. But, yeah, you can have that, Denny. But I'll need it back because that's one for when I'm with Mayor Bradley. But what's going to happen is, as a result of this, the county was aware of the JED between Lorraine and Amherst Township, and they know when we had, at the time it was Premier Toyota wanted the property that's south of Route 2, is it just got so expensive when they were going through the different options of getting a sanitary sewer over there, and at that time, The engineers for Lorraine were talking a 5-foot tunnel going under Route 2 with the sanitary sewers, and as things change, it just got way too expensive to do that, and ultimately Premier Toyota ended up relocating out in the city of Amherst, and this deal didn't get done. So what the county's proposed now is, if you look, Georgianne, can you move it a little bit up to the north so we can see the southern, that's it, thank you. Coming from Middle Ridge there is a 10-inch sewer line. They've got a little short piece there in front of the service station that's they're currently showing as 8-inch that will actually run to the southwest. Then the 10-inch on Middle Ridge would run from the southwest to the northeast. Then it ties right into West Ridge, and it'll actually run with a 10-inch gravity flow going to the southeast. And then you see you see the main part of West Ridge now. They have a sanitary sewer 10-inch also running straight north, and then along Old West Ridge, which Georgianne's pointing to now, is also a 10-inch that will run up to Route 2. And then what the county's proposed there is they will have a pump right at the end of that gravity flow line. And that pump coming from the 10-inch gravity feed will feed into a 6-inch force main. And that 6-inch force main, the plan is there'll actually be a 12-inch pipe, and then that force main will be going through the 6-inch through that 12-inch pipe bored under Route 2. And if this all, as the county's current plan is, gets done, that opens up that jet area for future economic improvement and hopefully jobs, good jobs, that we weren't able to do at the time when Premier Toyota was trying to get in there. And Premier Toyota wasn't this whole area, they were just a small, less than 10-acre portion they were talking about, but the jet area, to make it economically viable, had to cover a much larger area. So that's the portion that I needed to get that information from the county first before I have my meeting with Mayor Bradley so we can discuss it. I do have, the county did send me the very detailed engineering prints also, but you know, those are multiple pages and no need to go over. This schematic gives you an idea of the section that we're referring to and then what's involved there. You also have a document you have in your packet, and this is the one that we're talking about, this map because of Carvana sanitary sewer construction plans. But I also put in there 2 different roads that we discussed here. This communications with the county engineers, Bob Kleiber, the chief deputy engineer. And per our discussion at the last trustee meeting, as far as also the road responsibility for Overland Road, and these are the sections of Overland Road from State Route 113 to Middle Ridge, and then also from Middle Ridge up to North Ridge. Right now, Overland Road, any portion other than the portion within the city of Overland, is all county road. The only portion that is not is this portion, Amherst Township. Can't find anyone yet, and maybe I'm sure there's somebody out there that knows the history, but right now, in talking with the engineer's office, people don't know why that responsibility was set up that way. And in talking with Bob, he's never been to a process where a change has occurred. He doesn't even know what the process is, and that's why I explained what the current conditions are as far as Overland Road, and wanted to know if he can look into, the Board of Trustees would like the county engineer to assume responsibility of Overland Road in the unincorporated area of the township. What we're looking at, Kevin, and we obviously would have to have a lot of discussion with you and the county engineer, is that the township would have a cooperative arrangement with the engineer's office in terms of Overland Road, in which the township would handle all snow plowing, salt spreading, roadside mowing, emergency removal of any, again, here we are, open storm sewer obstructions, you know, that are causing issues, fallen tree limbs, large animals. I mean, you know what you guys go through. And then the regular patching and sealing, striping, resurfacing, berming, signage, guardrail repair, storm sewer maintenance, everything else, have the county take care of that. The reason we look at that partnership is because usually you're dealing with weather-related events where you guys are being called out, and you've got the rest of the township to do anyway. The township facility is right here on Overland Road, so you're already traveling north and south to get to the different other areas you have to service, whether it's Kay and Linda, whether it's Fowl, wherever you're going, so that we may as well drop the plow and put the salt down there. That makes it more safe for anybody traveling through, whether they're township residents or not. And yet it would be minimal cost in terms of our vehicles and personnel, since you may be going by there anyway, and we could potentially work with the county engineer's office as far as material costs and how we do that. The county engineer already has salt stored in other areas, but usually it's them going in to get the salt to salt their roads. This would be the same thing. We'd have it jointly in here. Maybe we come up with an estimate based on road mileage to handle those roads that we're salting instead of them. But I just think that doing that arrangement would take the road resurfacing and some of the larger issues and things you can plan for and give those to the county, so let them take the whole road. And the issues that can come up quick, like plugged up storm sewers, you know, weather events, you know, large deer in the middle of the road, we can get those cleared a lot faster because you're going to hear about it and you're already here. Get those things taken care of before somebody gets injured. You know, we're calling out the ambulance and fire also. So that's what the discussion is. Though Bob's gotten back to me on Carvana, I haven't heard anything on Overland Road as far as that changeover. And I don't, were you not at the last meeting?
No, he was here.
Okay, you were here. Then you heard the discussion of the trustees. There was also the third item here is very similar. We know this new spline road coming in for the sandstone development, you know, which is over a mile long there. And the county since that road has to be put in before anything else can be developed, and yet there's not going to be any type of home construction or any residence there or business construction there that can be bringing revenue back. So it's all going to be expense initially on. So the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners has put a TIF in that area, and that's where we've discussed, well, you're going to do that, that takes away some of that revenue. We'd also like to see them have the county engineer take responsibility for that spline road. The township would take the remaining roads, which is still going to be about 4 miles of roadway, 4 to 5 miles additional roadway we do that's back in the development. I realize that's the county engineer's decision. It's not the county commissioners. The county commissioners decided on the TIF area, but that's the direction we're hoping to go. And similar, we'd have to talk with the county engineer, same thing about plowing and salting and whatnot for that particular area, since again, you're going to be there anyway. So it might make more sense from a safety standpoint and the routes that people are traveling for us to do the things that are weather event related, but all long-term maintenance, see if the county engineer can take care of that. But now's the time for the discussion, not after the road is built. So I'm hoping to hear something back from Bob and, you know, and/or Ken Carney, our engineer, on that. But right now, my discussion, both verbal discussion Bob and I had in this follow-up email is all that we've done on that. And I don't know if you want to wait till we're all together, if you have any feelings on this, one way or the other, Kevin, because we haven't had a lot of discussion on it. I mean, other than here at the meeting, we've had no discussion on it. Okay.
Yeah, my feelings, you know, I'm in agreement with what you're saying, with still doing everything that we're doing as of this day, except when the big money comes to repave the thing, you know, then the county will take care of it.
Right, so paving, striping, signage, guardrails, even, storm sewers they'd still do, but obviously you see one plugged, you gotta go out there, you know that. I mean,
Right.
whether it's bags, milk jugs, animals, you see what happens. I mean, you guys are dipping those things off and on, or, clearing them out, so we don't want people getting flooded yards or flooded
Right.
basements.
We do that with their roads now.
Yeah. So, okay, and Georgianne, yeah.
I had a,
Do you have the proposed sandstone development spine road responsibility assignment?
Yeah, that's down, it's on the back page, I'm sorry.
Okay, but he responded here to you. Here is the general plan of what we are looking to construct. Do you have that?
That was just for that's what we showed earlier for this map here.
This
I
map
can send
here.
you that if you want
Okay.
that.
Can you send me this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you this back.
Yeah,
and you
it's
can
better
send
if you see it electronically too, Denny, because you can blow
Right.
it up and see things. But I had Linda printed these out for me. And actually, Linda, can you email this to Denny before the night's over?
Yeah.
I thought I had, but maybe I didn't, but just if you can email him a copy. But I just wanted to get a couple copies put together in preparation for a meeting with Mayor Bradley.
Okay.
I had a question on,
Yeah.
on the sewers, back on the sewer map. There was a portion that's on Middle Ridge that's going
Can
south.
you bring the sewer map back up, Georgianne?
The southwest portion on Middle Ridge,
Or which one, the one farthest to the north?
the farthest to, as we're looking at it, the farthest to the left, is that middle? isn't
That's
that-
Middle Ridge, south, going to, in that,
Southwest.
southwest direction.
Now, is that existing, you said?
No,
No,
everything that's in the black and yellow
It's
is
gonna
all
be-
new. What's in the red, up to the north, is what's existing.
okay, so, by adding that, that is actually being talked about to add that part?
Yes,
And it will end, right where it ends there. And then
right where it's, yes.
And then on the old Middle Ridge, where it turns north, I understand that.
Old West Ridge, you mean, or,
The old, West Ridge, rather.
yeah,
But then it turns south, and there is no road there
yeah, that's, where it turns south, that is West Ridge.
oh, I see.
See, that's all, the old West Ridge used to go straight across there, and when Route 2 came through, it got redirected,
Right, I got you. Okay,
all right?
so West Ridge will have sewers and, okay,
How far south does that go?
Right where it's showing that it ends at the jet area right now.
and where is that ending portion, approximately?
The meets and bounds, I don't have that, Remy, there's that old railway
I was
there.
gonna say, it looks like.
The old railway, okay, I got you.
You want me to send?
I
you
know
a
where the
copy?
old railway's at, yeah.
What
Yeah.
size line is that?
You want a copy?
10
too?
inch.
I'll
Yeah,
send you the
please.
email.
10 inch?
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, it'd be best if you just have it, and
Good.
And they're doing a 10 along Middle Ridge too?
yes, and then just in front of where the service station is,
little
there by
section
the
going-
exit, that will actually gravity feed towards the southwest, that's only 8 inch, because there's obviously only a small amount of, there's existing businesses there, and not a whole lot that can be constructed in there.
Really?
So they didn't need the 10 inch up there.
But
So
the
it-
people along the north or the northwest side of that line would be able to tie into
Yes.
that too?
Yes, they'd be able to tie in. I don't know what details the counties had in those types of discussions.
They'd be
Uh,
required to tie in.
Pardon?
They'd be required to tie in.
Well, it depends upon the distance,
Yeah, if they're less than
because
200.
some of those homes are set back,
Right.
so it'd be their choice.
Some are not.
And some may not, and that's where Remy, I said, I had no discussion on that.
Okay.
What my focus was to get the print to set up the discussion with Mayor Bradley.
I got you.
Right.
Before that, I had no idea exactly where the lines were. You talk with people on the phone, and they, just as we're doing here, it's easier once you see the map. They start saying southeast, north, it's like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right.
And they mix up if they're talking Middle Ridge, West Ridge, Old West Ridge, so it's easier, you know, like in Missouri, show me,
Yeah, I get it now. I get
Okay.
it. Thank you.
all right? Okay, Georgiana, if you can bring up the pavement standard. Okay, we had the discussion at the last meeting, based on the document that Bob Cliver had sent out to all of the townships. And you do have a copy in your packet. It's on the sheet that's titled Pavement Subgrade Chemical Stabilization. It's actually on the back. So I just wanted you to have that in your hands again. I had received a communication from John Evanson, which you've got the copy here by email, again, talking about, hey, since they're looking at Hampshire Farms, putting the road in now, is, you know, this cement stabilization isn't really required all the time. I mean, you can read his email, but I did call John back and said, John, I don't think the township can move fast enough for getting your development done. And even personally, I'm very slow to change a standard, especially without having people that are more knowledgeable and experienced than me to discuss why would you change it, when would you apply it. Obviously, we rely on our county engineer for helping us in that guidance, but, and they don't have an issue. They just want to know, they just don't see that it's necessary. Odds are Hampshire Farms is going to just meet our current standard. But our current standard is up here. I know that Bob's memo says 12 inches of chemical stabilization. Well, that's where he references the ODOT standard 206. But there's more than one ODOT standard. And I know that Penfield, Grafton, Columbia Township for certain all use the 12-inch standard, but realize some of them are copying each other's, you know how that goes. And so maybe Bob just assumed they were all 12-inch. Ours, for residential, is the 726 plan, which is the 7 inches of Class C cement, 2 inches of number 8 stone, and then the 6 inch of stabilization across the board. So Hampshire Farms is probably going to meet this standard here, and then it shows obviously the expansion joints at every driveway, which in some of the older subdivisions didn't have happen. And as I know, I was hoping that David would be here so he could weigh in and comment on this, but this isn't something we're going to be changing soon. He's got all this documentation, was emailed to him ahead of time, so it could be discussed in an informed way. But as David pointed out at the last meeting, the big concern always is drainage. Well, the drainage doesn't change. It's as we're still showing in this spec. The only question is soil stabilization. And I do know that other developers have been talking with Lorain County Planning as far as trying to get some standard among the townships because some are different. They'd like to see where one's the same. They seem to have the focus on soil stabilization has changed as far as using chemical stabilization as the carte blanche ideal thing to do. They believe as they gain more knowledge in ODOT also that that's not necessarily the best thing to do, and it could actually create some issues that you didn't have if you didn't use it. But again, I'd like to hear from some parties that don't have a horse in the race that are experts, and that includes whether they're our own county engineer plus individuals from ODOT We obviously have two local universities that churn out an awful lot of civil engineers, being in Cleveland State and Case Western Reserve University. So I'm sure if that's where you're training the civil engineers, you should have the researchers there that are looking at what are the current knowledge base and current trends, and what have they learned, since all learning is an iterative process and you build on that base. So at this point, Denny, I don't see anything changing in Hampshire
No.
Farms.
No, I don't see anything changing either.
But I did say, listen, we'll keep moving forward. I'd like to see this, though, where all the townships are looking at it, and where we can gain some more knowledge. Unfortunately, when we go to the OTA training, it's almost always on road maintenance and rehab. I've never been to one educational session there on a new subdivision and new road construction. I've just never seen it. And with this, I will be talking with Marissa Myers, like, hey, can you maybe put this out there for the next OTA, which I hope will be in person as far as a session to get put together. Realize it'll be difficult because I only have 45 minutes in a training session. So it's how much information can they give there, but I'd like them to focus on what are current construction practices and the whys and wherefores, and specifically the issue on soil stabilization. I've also requested, because I was told none of the municipalities in Lorraine County require this anymore. And some that had it took it out because of the same thing, that it's not necessary all the time. They sometimes run into trouble. So I requested the standards for new streets from the city of Lorraine, Avon, and North Ridgeville. And I only chose those three because that's where most of the construction municipalities is having today. Avon Lake still has some going on, but a lot of theirs has been built out. But the other three communities are still having new road construction. So I'd like to see what standards they have. And Kevin, as you know, usually you see this within the first 2 to 3 years anyway if there's a problem. And we still require the bond guarantee on new roads. So obviously whoever put in the road is going to have to pay to replace it. So I'm still comfortable that we don't have an issue, but I'm not comfortable changing a standard without more knowledge and hearing from some uninterested third party. And just so you understand, for our commercial area, we have what we call the 849 pavement standard. So it's the same materials, but it's the 8 inches of concrete, 4 inches of the stone, and then 9 inches of the cement stabilization. So we've never had 12 inches. And the only construction we've had new put in was Copper Creek, done to this standard. I know that the one coming off up here was a Cherry Hill, was supposed to be done that way. I don't know if it was. That became a big question at the time when that got put in, if the engineers were able to do the inspection at the time that little stub street was put in there. So I don't know. And obviously that's on that sandy ridge, so I imagine they had to stabilize something some way.
Where
I
is this
don't
at,
know if it was
Neil?
chemical.
Where is this at?
Cherry Hill, where Ed Gargas put in when he was planning on developing that area.
Yeah.
He only
Is
had
that-
the one home built.
That's an apron, and it just goes back. There's
Right,
always a snow fence
right.
there.
That's on Middle Ridge,
Correct.
where the one house is at.
Correct.
Okay, I know
Right,
what
that's
you-
where Kevin stuck maintaining that. We had a healthy discussion. Most of it, though, was with the Board of Commissioners because of some political ties that certain individuals had at the time, and I should have pushed more with the county engineer, is we kept saying they insisted that the township had to maintain that road, even though the road was being used as a driveway. And I kept turning it back to the county officials saying, we need to maintain it. Well, why don't you maintain it? And they weren't buying that. They said, well, this shouldn't take that much. I said, well, you're right, and your county vehicles come by. It shouldn't take that much. So it kept that back and forth, and it finally got to the point where you know when you're dealing with the individuals that also control different grant applications you apply for, you can only argue your point so far. But fortunately, the county engineer was very good. What they agreed to do was they put that T in. But I told them, for us to do it now, we gotta back out on Middle Ridge. So that's a bigger risk than anything else down there to help for one homeowner. So the county engineer stepped up to the plate at their cost, put the guardrail in at the back, and put a T in so you guys could turn around. So, you know, you weren't pulling your trucks always on loaded trucks with heavy salt onto someone's drive apron. The next thing you know, we'd be asked to pay for somebody's driveway replacement. So the county engineer did help us there, but we have to go drive down a county road to pull in and maintain a little stub street. But again, I don't know if it was done to this standard. It should have been. But obviously I wasn't there, and you weren't here at the time, Kevin, for the inspection, because our standard does say the road superintendent also is to be present. But just so you're aware, these discussions are continuing, and you know, I haven't shut the door on it, but I'd like us to gain more information before we make any change whatsoever. Okay, Senior Services Township Administrator, Linda Ashley.
Okay, the person for the NOPEC community event sponsorship or a scholarship or whatever we're getting, I have been playing phone tag with her for 3 weeks. So I called her again today, and I've not heard from her. I've even given her my personal cell phone number and told her to call me at any time. So I'm still working on that to see if we
Okay,
can
good.
somehow, some way get that 15.
We have till June 30th?
June 30th.
Okay.
It might be in June, but
Yeah.
I'm going to keep after her, but I do know the one time she returned my phone call, but she called Chris's office. And then Chris transferred it to me when she came in, but I've been leaving detailed messages to call me, but anyway, so I am working on that.
If she's got your cell, I have confidence she'll get it done. I certainly hope they agree to what we've discussed, because it's available to the whole community. It's just not a singular one-day event
Right, and
anymore.
it more pertains to the fact that we pay ourselves,
Right.
and they don't want to pay us anymore. They're not paying the townships directly.
They
will
want a
pay a third party.
nonprofit or, yeah.
Correct.
So then the question is, and just so Denny, so you're aware of this too, is, well, at least on grindings, which we don't have the equipment to do, so okay, can we say that even though we have them drop it off, all this is a temporary hold, but we'd have to then pay the person doing the
Right.
grinding. Well, how do we work that out? Because if we're the one making the arrangement to get the people in to do township work, but instead of working through our financials where Chris sees it as a pass-through, we tell our vendor, well, you need to bill NOPEC? I mean, that's the strange thing, you know?
It is very odd, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. As I
So,
said, at the
we'll
next
figure it out.
annual event, I will be more vocal, because I missed the last one, only because I missed the part, you had to sign up ahead of time to even participate virtually.
Okay.
It wasn't an in-person thing. I had it on my schedule, I got on there, and I couldn't get signed in, and nobody would let me into the meeting.
Oh.
You know, you have to have the administrator, just as we did here, let you into the meeting. So I just gave up, and it wasn't until after that we're being told on these new
And that's when they
requirements, which
changed it
just
all,
seems
right.
like it's made it, for $5,000, they're making it awful difficult.
Right. Actually, it's 1,500.
Or I'm rather 1,500. It just seems like that's too much to do for that amount of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of forms to fill out.
Well,
And
and then we
you
gotta
know,
keep in
and
mind,
hoops
with
to
our
jump
luck,
through.
that'll be the one the state auditor pulls out the sample. You know,
So-
again, for $1,500.
Right. I am working on it. As soon as I hear something, I will let you know.
Okay, thanks, Linda.
I do want to bring something to your attention, though. I did speak with a rather upset senior citizen this morning, and it started about commercial drop-off for the yard waste, and ended up with her complaining about the roads and her water bill and my office hours. So I just want to put it out there again for, the 100th time. Yes, my office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 until noon. I do have voicemail. If you leave a message with your name, phone number, and what little detail about what you're calling about, I call everybody back. I will call you back. If you don't want to leave a message on my phone, you can email me at amhersttwpseniors@gmail.com. I will get back to you. But I get many people that hang up on my voicemail. So I have a lot of hang-ups sometimes in the mornings. She said my office hours were horrible. They were not good for the seniors because they're not going to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to be able to call me, and they sleep till 10 or 11. I'm here until noon. Sometimes I'm here till 2 o'clock.
Right.
So just call. If you have a concern or need help with anything, just please call and make sure you leave me a message, and I will get back to you. And I've been known to leave my personal cell phone number with people to call me. I call people in the afternoons. I've even called them on Saturdays, whatever works for their schedule. So for her to be a little bit irate because my office hours are 8 till noon was not absolutely correct. And she did state then that she was not aware of that I would call people back. But at any rate, I did need to bring that up.
Okay.
We also have the green box by our door here. If anybody wants to drop a note or whatever in the box, I check that every single morning when I come in, and I check it every afternoon when I leave. So there are ways of getting a hold of us.
It's always old school with the postal service.
And you can always mail it, right? And I
Who would do that?
I did suggest that perhaps if she has some issues with the way that things are being run, that she come up to a meeting.
And that would be best. And I didn't understand the comment about commercial drop-off at the,
She had called originally, and she did leave a message and wanted to know if commercial landscapers could drop off yard waste here.
no.
And Kevin and I had this discussion because we've had a problem in the last, over the weekend, of people leaving plastic totes, 2x4s, whatever else they were leaving over there in the yard waste. And we've been looking at the videos because we are surveilling them now. We looked at the videos and were able to find out who was dropping this off. And Kevin was able to contact a couple people.
Oh, good.
To alert them that we do not take that. So she called on that, and I told her there was no commercial. It didn't matter, even the landscapers. Commercial landscape companies should have an outlet for
Right.
their yard waste. And she said they do, but it costs her more money. If they can use our dump, she gets a discount. And I explained it, and she wasn't overly happy.
Yeah, the issue is, this is for our residents. We continue to do it because our agreement with our curbside pickup, because of the cost being too high, that we chose not to have yard waste pickup at the curb included, because it would drive up the cost for everybody when not everybody's using it. And it just seemed too high. I think it was over $20 a month that the cost would have been for yard waste pickup. That you would have paid every month, so over $240, and it was probably close to $250 a year. So we give residents this option here, and then it costs us, maybe $6,000 a year to get rid of it. And we're aware that commercial people were using it, but we couldn't police it, so now we've got a security system, and hats off to you, Kevin, for contacting people. And how would you know that a landscaper is or is not charging a person different? Because, geez, I'll give you the lower rate if I can drop it off the township. Most of them are charging you to pick it up and take it away, and they know that's a cost of doing business. And I don't know if there's any other public entity that allows commercial to drop off, but that's not something
And we can't
we're going to
police
do.
that all the grass clippings, weeds, tree branches are from the township.
Right, yeah, we're
know?
just not going to do it. Well, I'm sure everybody will say, oh, it's only the township, just like everybody picks up their animal waste. And that's why we should all be walking dogs in the park.
Yeah,
They all pick it up, right?
right. So. And I did give her the option, of course, to always fill out a complaint form
Right,
if there's something that is troublesome to her.
okay.
And I gave her the different options of ways to submit it.
Well, hopefully if she's got something specific that she needs, she'll leave you a message so you can help her, but it does sound like you got a contact. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Linda.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to complaints, and let's see, we're pretty much, everything, there's only the complaint there's on hold. This other one, I don't know what to do with that, other than to take it off, since Jerry's no longer there. I suppose I can call, I should probably call Tom and see, hey, do you have any of the old files, and did you ever get anything in writing that Jerry leave you as far as this agreement, where that property owner fully understood, which we don't ever see happening, where we'd have to take the fence down, but, you know, who knows what can happen in maintaining the road. But there are some new ones here, Remy, and you got copies here. It's front and back, but they're two different complaints, and one of them looks like they've already been notified. It was an individual complaining about a dog rescue operation going on K Drive. You should probably know about this one, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I assume you're handling that?
Yeah, I'll talk to Frank and tell him there's really not a lot I could do about dog barking. The gentleman does have too many dogs. He does run a dog rescue in his backyard, and a lot of the residents there are not happy with it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do.
But he can call the
Legally.
sheriff if they're
The sheriff,
barking
yeah.
away.
Which is what I would advise him to do, because I'm not a police officer.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the case with that one there.
They're
The other
not
one-
running a commercial enterprise. They're not selling dogs or,
Not that I know of. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I know that he does rescue dogs, so
do they have an official name?
not that I
Okay.
know of.
Okay.
He just moved in a couple of years ago and put a fence up, and he had a couple of dogs at that time, but apparently he's got a couple more than that now. And people are not happy about it.
Yeah, where you can get it if somebody starts breeding dogs and running a business
Yeah,
there, that'll,
if it becomes more of a business,
right.
then I could probably go that route.
Okay, the next one's this property maintenance issue on Levitt Road. I didn't take a look at that. This has just come in recently.
Yeah, I haven't been there either. I intend to go there tomorrow to kind of see what's going on, scope it out, and
Okay.
maybe post it.
All right. Anything else there, Remy?
Nothing that I can think of right now.
All right, thank you. Get a note here. Okay, as far as the other items on the agenda, Denny, if there's something you have specific responsibility on, is there anything you want to bring forward?
No.
Okay, then I do have one item here for consideration of action. This is one where our commercial building code coordinator, Tom Horseman, was in contact. Was he directly in contact with you, Linda?
His wife was.
Okay, and Linda had sent out an email where Tom Horseman's indicated he now has all the certifications to conduct the plumbing inspections versus relying on the state of Ohio. The law says the option is the Lorraine County Board of Health, but I don't know if they do any plumbing inspections. But it must be causing some difficulty just in the timing, and since he has the certifications now, we would need to notify the Ohio State building codes as far as this change. And Tom's filled out a document to affect that change. And we would also have to have a resolution put together that's sent to them. But I just wanted to bring this forward to see if there's any objection from the trustees in terms of having Tom also do the plumbing inspections here. And again, this would just be on the commercial end, so it would accept, the exception would be not on the 1, 2, and 3 family residential structures.
No, I've heard about it. I talked to Linda about it. Linda and Remy both talked to me about it, and they're both for it. And I think it's a good idea. And,
Okay.
So,
Okay, well, then with that, the resolution is certification to enforce the Ohio State building codes except 1, 2, or 3 family residential. And I go through and explain that, hey, we've had this building code enforcement for some time, because it's tough just reading the application you fill out. It makes it appear like you're just creating a department, which isn't the case. There's reasons why we need to maintain that original certification date. But with that then, as the resolution is prepared, is now therefore be it resolved by the trustees of the Township of Amherst, State of Ohio, the Ohio Administrative Code 4101-1, which includes the Ohio Building Code, Ohio Administrative Code 41012, which is the Ohio Mechanical Code, and the Ohio Administrative Code 41013, which is the Ohio Plumbing Code, as promulgated by the Ohio Board of Building Standards, shall apply and be enforced within Amherst Township, Lorraine County, Ohio, except 1, 2, or 3 family residential structures. This resolution shall be in full force and effect from the earliest period permitted by law following promulgation of the Ohio Building Code, Ohio Mechanical Code, and Ohio Plumbing Code by the Board of Building Standards through the certification process, adoption and effective date of certification issued by the Ohio Board of Building Standards. Amherst Township's current Ohio Basic Building Coordinator, Mr. Thomas Horseman, shall ensure that all appropriate documentation is provided the Ohio Board of Building Standards to effect the change in responsibility for commercial plumbing inspection. Mr. Horseman shall also confer with Township Administrator Linda Ashley and Zoning Inspector Remy Cerrone to update the Amherst Township application for non-residential plan approval / permit form and the fee schedule to include a plumbing processing inspection fee commensurate with the fee charged by the State of Ohio inspectors and other Lorraine County communities. Section 4 is the boilerplate that this was all done in a public meeting, so that'll be my motion.
I will second that.
Okay. And as far as further discussion, you'll notice, Denny, I didn't put a specific amount there, and I was searching for that amount. Unfortunately, just effective this month is there was a change over who maintained the Ohio Revised Code and Ohio Administrative Code that's now put under the Ohio Legislative Service Commission, and their search feature to me wasn't as easy as the old one. So I know those fees that the state has were included before. I could not find them. So that's why I just said commensurate with whatever the state is, or local communities. And with that, Denny, when the form gets updated, since Linda, you'll probably work with Remy in actually updating that form. I assume you have it electronically, Remy. I don't have, I've got a copy of the form electronic, but I don't think I have it in a Word format, because it'll have to add that inspection on it. That's done here by Tom Horseman. But the amount will have to be established. I mean, you're comfortable with letting Linda
Yes.
establish that? Because you know your benchmark, Linda, is what's the state fee? Talk with Tom, what's he do with local communities? And then you'll see the other fees to get what the appropriate plumbing fee is to put on that application. Okay, and then Chris, I'm assuming once this gets certified, if you just give a copy to Linda, because then Tom will be the one that'll submit the application and the certified resolution. All this backup information he won't need, that's just, since he says, just like the old contract, well, you have to follow through this, what's the old contract, and you need those August 13th meeting minutes and the original agreement with Ken Klingshirn, and then I also, Remy, included what the process is that you would put together sometime back when we were looking at alternatives to this. Okay? If no other discussion, and roll call, Chris?
Lynch,
Yep.
Abraham,
Yes.
The number on that?
4321.
4321.
Four, 321, right?
Mhm. Okay. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, April 27th at 7 o'clock. At this time, I don't see any need for a work session on Thursday. Okay. Any need for an executive session?
No, I don't have.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.